You know, whenever Michael isn't going to be with us,
This is Auto Collabs.
I always feel the need to like do some antics. I don't know what they are, but in his absence, because he's the
In
antics
some way,
guy.
kind of like raise your eyebrow on one side.
Yeah,
and then
make
make
a
some notes.
face, right?
Make a weird face at everybody, and then make fun of him for being short. All at the same time.
All at the same time. I'll tell you what, if people don't know that about Michael, they just don't know him, because he is just like, he's like the jester, and he's really, really funny. And you can always, and sometimes embarrassingly so.
Right.
Right.
But
he's
then
like,
also just like a wizard when it comes to business operations,
incredibly
understanding
insightful.
the industry, insightful on how to work with people and all of that. So
yeah,
you
I'm
get all of
excited.
the
We're going to
above.
talk. Actually, it's a great segue, because today we're going to talk with Devin Daly, co-founder and CEO of Impel, who just acquired Outsell. Devin is he's just one of those people, when I'm around him, I realize how not smart I am. Like, he's just, maybe I'm emotionally intelligent, but he is sharp. He is just sharp. So we hope you enjoy this conversation. We'll see what he reveals to us in this conversation with Devin Daly. It is so fun to be on the show today with you, Devin, because we share a last name spelled the same way. Devin Daly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
There's no
They got the same last name. They live in the same city.
That is true.
And they're both fans of the same football team.
Which I just found out.
I'll see y'all later.
Which I just found out. Kyle, peace out. We don't need to know. No, Devin, but thanks for joining us today. Yeah, you and I both living in the Syracuse area. Apparently, we're both Eagles fans, which makes sense on why I like you so much. But let's do this, because our audience is constantly changing and evolving. You're obviously the leader of a forefront technology company in the auto industry with Impel, just acquired Outsell. But we'll get to that. But we'd like to start a little bit, a little profile. How'd you get here? Because you have a really interesting story of why you even started developing merchandising tools. So give us a quick background of like who you are and how we got here. Like, think of it like 60 seconds or so.
You got it. Thanks, Paul. So yeah, from upstate New York, started my career on Wall Street in investment banking, moved into the private equity world after a couple of years. And in that career, I was really investing in vertical software companies, fell in love with software as a service, and had kind of a subset of our investment portfolio that was focused on what I would call kind of e-commerce enablement products. So like chat products, recommendation engines for e-commerce. And the way I came up with the idea for what has become Impel is we realized that subset of our portfolio had really fast adoption rates, high gross retention rates, all the KPIs you look for were stronger. We peeled back the onion to understand why that was. And it was because these e-commerce enablement products had really demonstrable ROI cases. So my co-founder and I got together and started racking our brains for what's the next thing in this kind of e-commerce evolution. Came up with this notion that 360 product visualizations were a tried and true way to improve e-commerce conversion.
What year was this about?
That was 2014 is when we founded the business. We did that initially focused on fashion. We were in Manhattan at the time, based in Manhattan, selling into people like Louis Vuitton, Warby Parker, Converse. The challenge, as you can imagine, right? It's a massively long sales cycle. You got different ad agencies vying for their interests. It has to go to, the Arnault family's desk for final signature to make a change to Louis Vuitton. And so we got pulled into auto. I hired a guy from Ray, and the rest is history. He changed his LinkedIn profile, and one of his dealers reached out to him and said, I love what you're doing in fashion. Is it possible you can do this for cars? And that was, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was St. Patty's Day 2015 is when we
How appropriate.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Well, I mean, because the product back then, the company was called SpinCar, or maybe not originally. What was the company originally called?
Swipe to Spin originally, and then
Swipe to Spin.
When we pivoted to auto, it became SpinCar.
Because you were like, this was think of like a pair of glasses, a purse, Converse, whatever, right? It's really little things, right? And then somebody's like, can you do it with cars? And you're like, yeah. And you figured that. And, just like a lot of people, you ended up in the auto industry by accident.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that's exactly the story. Yeah. So for 6 months after that initial dealership sale, we straddled both industries. And then in Q4 of 2015, I remember we had a seminal board meeting. We kind of looked at the data, and dealers were buying in droves, and fashion companies were just threatening to buy. And so that's when we decided to focus purely on automotive.
Can you tell us who the dealer was?
Planet Honda in Union, New Jersey, right outside of the Holland Tunnel on Route 22, I believe it is. They got acquired by Lithia recently, but there's a guy, Bill Feinstein, there that was the dealer principal, and remains a friend to this day and a customer, most importantly.
I need to know at some point, Devin, I need you to look up for me. I need you to find out what customer number in the auto vertical Nelson Mazda was. I need to know that answer because I think we were like late 2015. It might have been early 2016.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how long I go back with the Spin Car family. So yeah.
And the second part of the story, as you know, Kyle, you were early with the Spin Car family. You might have been like number 1, 2, 3 with the Pulsar family that we ended up acquiring in 2021. So
yes, yeah, I think I was the third franchise store on. There were a couple like larger, like Shift, I think was using them or something like that. I was working closely with that team on all of their communication stuff. So yeah, golly, I'm like, and now we're interviewing you at the Outsell thing. This is crazy.
Right, you just bought a company for $100 million. A lot of stuff happened between like we can do a 360 video of a vehicle and we're spending $100 million to acquire a company to build a vertical AI marketing stack.
Yep.
Goodness.
Yeah.
And in his free time, he plays the didgeridoo.
That's right. I do.
Do you really play the didgeridoo?
I do. Yeah. I used to play guitar growing up, and I had a physics.
It's an obvious transition.
Yeah, exactly. I had a physics teacher that I was really close with, and for whatever reason, he was really into the didgeridoo, gave me an album, and I don't know, I became fascinated with it and have bought a few. And nowadays it's mostly used to entertain my 2 daughters, or if they're sleeping in too late to wake them up, kind of like wake up.
So you can circular breathe.
I can, yeah. I learned that early on. Yeah, yep, I can.
That's I think Impel Spin Car traditionally recognized as like a really solid sales organization. And so being able to like talk without stopping feels like a really feels like these two things may connect. Right? You can just I got the next thing and I have the breath to support it. So maybe let's talk about the transition from like, or the application of merchandising to marketing. It's something Kyle talks about all the time. And so you started in merchandising, right? And then obviously you've gone very far and deep into the marketing ecosystem. So can you like tell us your thoughts on like merchandising through marketing? I know it's like a big question, but like give us your overview and what your approach is.
Yeah, a couple thoughts there, right? So Impel started, we initially were doing just vehicle merchandising. We then extended to start doing like feature and option merchandising, right? So some of the more complex elements of the vehicle purchase process is understanding the difference between the BMW collision avoidance system and the Mercedes, whatever, accident mitigation, system, for example. We started building really rich content directly on the VDP. What we realized as we continued building these merchandising products is we had access to really unique and granular exhaust data. So most vendors in the space can tell you what pages someone goes to, or maybe what area of the page they're interacting with. But because we deliver that rich viewing experience, we can really granularly tell that Kyle's a performance buyer because he clicks on the engine photo 12 times, the performance spec sheet 9 times, the turbocharger video 7 times, versus Paul's a safety buyer because he interacts with safety features. That's when we started to realize this exhaust data can be really valuable to be used in marketing as well as in conversational AI. So we began using that in retargeting. So for example, if guys, let's say you both looked at a BMW 5 Series and you left, Paul would be retargeted with the same 5 Series, but maybe an inlay talking about the 5-star, safety rating or IHS safety rating, whereas Kyle might get something with an inlay of the engine highlighting the horsepower of the vehicle. We started talking to our dealer council about, this is driving outsized performance, having this additional layer of tailoring. Where else can we use this? And they came to us and said, we believe there's in the next 5 years going to be an AI evolution in the space, and dealerships are going to go from being massively human capital staff to really technology and automation enabled. And AI presents another opportunity to leverage that data to do long tail personalization. And so in May of 2021, we acquired Pulsar, where Kyle was a very early adopter, a company based out of the Republic of Georgia. They had probably 25 customers at the time. Today, we have probably 3,000 customers on that product.
Oh, man.
And then in November of 2022, the same month that OpenAI released ChatGPT, believe it or not, we acquired a company called Collabs that has become our service AI product. And similarly, they had a couple dozen customers. Today, they're in probably 1,500 or so of our customers.
Goodness.
And so,
I mean, yeah. Well, and Paul said it like I truly believe like merchandising is marketing, but because merchandising is so tightly tied to marketing, it really displays so much intent of the consumer. And if you don't get that right, then you can't do all of this personalized stuff. You can't get the person to the right thing that they should be looking at. You can't get them like imagine you have merchandising terrible, but all of your marketing is AI generated, driven by a CDP. It's perfect. And you drop them on a page with a photo that has the little like camera icon that says coming soon and none of the details are there. Like that person will still never convert even though it was perfectly timed to the right person, to the right email. You know that they have that car that they want to trade in. They'll never convert. Right?
You're speaking our exact language here, right? You should optimize your low funnel conversion engine before you start to spend more money on marketing. And by really optimizing your merchandising and your website experience, every dollar you spend thereafter on marketing will become significantly more performant. So no doubt, we 100% align with that.
Tell us about, so you brought us through, you didn't mention Outsell as you were going through the iteration, right? Like this chapter of the story is just beginning. Tell us what you were in the hunt for. Like, obviously you tell us why you purchased Outsell and like what your ambitions are for that. Yeah. But what was the gap?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So there is this notion, right, that there will be a bifurcation in the AI markets, right? The companies that definitively can declare themselves the winner of a particular vertical with AI, will have long-term competitive advantage, strategic premiums. And so that is, Impel's North Star, is to really firmly establish ourselves as the de facto standard of artificial intelligence for the auto space. And there's also an adage that as AI becomes more democratized or even potentially commoditized, he who owns the data or the company that has access to the most rich proprietary training data will really win out. And so Outsell has phenomenal automated marketing capabilities or marketing automation capabilities that we could talk more about. But really what excites us is they've got 20 years of consumer data. Every day they're tracking somewhere around 70 million American consumers.
Do that math.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, exactly. And so the ability for us to use that to train our models on auto specific use cases, to do that really long tail personalization is what excites us more than anything. I mean, you can look at the Outsell platform and you can see one consumer's last 5 vehicle purchases, their last 70 service visits, which mediums they respond to, at what times of day do they like to be interacted with, in addition to all of the household information, right? Size of family, income, credit score, things of that nature. And again, they've got that going back an enormous 20 years.
You just blew my mind for a second. Like, I think a lot of people think, yeah, you have data on me or data on consumers, so you know how much I make, and you know what I drive, and you know what I like to watch. But what time of day I like to interact with things, my last 70 service visits, regardless of where I had them. Right?
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say, right? I mean, that's a key part of our positioning is, sure, we have, point solution competitors that, might compete with us in one facet of our product. But to your point, Paul, being able to share those insights across different activations. So when I'm engaging with Paul selling a vehicle, I know he responds Tuesdays and Thursdays between 6 and 8 because he doesn't have his kids during that time and he prefers text over email or what have you. Then after we sell Paul a vehicle, being able to use that same insight when I'm trying to get him back in for service retention is really, that's a big part of our differentiation, is one AI brain sharing insights across all the different touch points in the life cycle.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me is like they have, 70 million, total people, right? That's not the entire size of the market in the US, but it's a big portion. And I think what we as an industry a lot of times do too often is we go, how do we find 70 million and one person, right? But if we just cared for the 70 million that we already know a little bit better, we wouldn't have to worry about 70 million and one because we don't actually need that consumer. We only need the 70 million that we already have in the pipeline that we know their habits, we know everything, and we care for them well. I talk about this all the time. I'm like, you got a dealership with 100,000 people sitting in their CRM or DMS. Like, you shouldn't ever have to go anywhere else for anybody as long as you take care of that really, really well, right? And this is that. It's actually it's not just, this is what's really cool about this. It's not just like a marketing ploy, it's actually caring for the consumer better.
Yeah.
Right.
Couldn't agree more, right? We talk about that all the time. Not only will AI help improve the customer lifetime value, but truly from a customer experience standpoint, it's significantly better, right? You think about the experience most consumers have. They, fall in love with their sales rep, fall in love with the vehicle, spend $50,000, second largest purchase of their life, and then they never hear from the dealership again. Or maybe they get some HTML piece here or there. Whereas with AI, you're constantly in touch. Hey, you're getting a handoff to the service department. You're getting an AI-based CSI survey. You're constantly reaching out to that consumer, reminding them. Candidly, when we started doing service business after we acquired Collabs, we thought people would find those reminders to be a bit of an annoyance. In fact, they're super thankful. Like, thank you so much for reminding me. Oh, I'm sorry I've been putting that off, kind of thing. I think to myself, right? I drive a Land Rover, not the most reliable vehicles. I wish my dealer had AI to remind me when I was due for service, kind of thing. So absolutely, the second order benefit is customer experience and reputation, no doubt.
Tell us a little bit about the makeup of the company. So your headquarters is and has always been, or was in Manhattan. Now it's in Syracuse. Tell us about how many people. Just give us the overview. I think people like to know what's the company structure? How much is remote? Are you in person? What's going to happen with Outsell?
Yeah, 100%. So I'll give you the numbers on a combined with Outsell basis. So with Outsell, we're roughly 500 employees today. Headquarters is in Syracuse. We do business now with around 8,000 dealerships. Impel is very international, especially with our merchandising products. So we work with around 53 countries. We have other offices in Toronto, Manchester in the UK, Brisbane, Australia, and a large office in the Republic of Georgia with around 75 people. Outsell was headquartered in Minneapolis. They brought 170 employees and 2,000 customers to Impel. Roughly, I think 120 of those 170 are in Minneapolis. Impel's probably, maybe 20-ish% of our employee base is remote. The rest are in, one of our nexuses, if you will.
What is is that an intentional strategy, or is that just how it washed out?
No, I think, that's definitely intentional for us. We value the in-person environment, the osmosis, the energy. As you said, we're very much a go-to-market heavy organization. I think it's, really difficult to do that or replicate, a go-to-market culture fully remotely. So, we're pretty pro kind of in office at Impel, no doubt.
Explain what you mean by go-to-market culture. That's the first time I've ever heard that phrase.
Yeah, meaning, right? I mean, I think, especially early on in a company's life cycle, I think companies typically have one of two modalities. They're either really a, product and technology organization or go-to-market organization. And, I think early on, of course, we had phenomenal products, but, we sold direct. We didn't sell through resellers. And, we were really focused on go-to-market and scaling that up. And I think that's a really strong, unique differentiator of ours. We've got a huge customer success team, a large implementation team. We know how to take care of our customers, how to implement them properly, how to support large enterprises. Over time, obviously, you become more balanced. Right now, combined with Outsell, we've got 170 people working in product and engineering, developing new solutions. But that element of the business too, I think, really benefits from being in person and being able to, call another product person, work together on a prototype and, look at a design together and that kind of thing. But yeah, again, with Outsell combined, we're up to, I think, around 170 people between product and engineering.
We talk a lot about, this more than cars mindset. I have it on my shirt. A lot of it has to do with getting the broader impact of the auto industry and the blessings and the resources that we have and using those things to serve the community. I know that you have long time been very involved in Central New York, which is, it's not a huge city. Like Greater Syracuse is under 1 million. But tell us about what you feel like the obligation is for tech companies or even industry partners to be impactful in their local area where they're headquartered.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, it's not the most obvious place for us to continue scaling a startup, but, we felt an obligation to prove that, it could be done in Syracuse, right? There's, a philosophy in the technology industry called, I believe it's called the rainforest philosophy, which is basically if you can create a couple of successful technology companies, you can really create this virtuous cycle where some of the founders or management team members are able to generate liquidity, learn what it takes to scale a business, and maybe they go on to start their own businesses, or they go on to invest in other technology companies, and it can create this really, really virtuous snowball effect. You've seen it.
Welcome to Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
Right. We now have a large cadre. We call them the Burlington Mafia. So my CFO was the CFO CFOdealer.com. So now I think we've got something like 20 people, all that were ex-dealer.com based in Burlington. So we're actually searching for office space to have up there as well.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I mean, obviously upstate New York, right? ACV is a big success story to come out of upstate New York, which is only about 2 hours from where we're headquartered. And it has been interesting to watch what, like tech is about talent. And before COVID, remote talent wasn't as nearly as normal a thing. So cultivating that, you watch the whole economy change around it, because all of a sudden you're getting all these national dollars coming into an area and redeploying those and training people. I love that the rainforest analogy makes a lot. I never heard that before. Kyle probably has.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Devin, thank you so much for joining us a little bit today and exposing the timeline of what Impel has done and what you see is on the horizon of AI, personalized connection, merchandising, marketing. I think that it's really insightful, even just in what products you guys are purchasing along the way. It's giving people a roadmap to understand your heart and your vision. So thanks for sharing a little bit of that with us and joining us today on Auto Collabs.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
All right. 2 things. I definitely have to find out what customer number we were back when I was at the
All right,
store.
we'll have to follow up on that one.
Yeah, because I already know I was customer 13 of Pulsar, and that's only because there was a 9 rooftop group that signed like 3 days before I did. So that was that. Never was a customer of Outsell back in the day. So, but I've known Devin and the team Art and the whole crew there for quite some time, and they've been on the hunt since Jump Street.
I think when he said go to market oriented, I think that's like,
you aren't kidding.
That is, man. I mean, they are just motivated and incredibly precise in their approach, which I think is one of the reasons. I think when you follow back companies that are successful, you see a very distinct orientation towards what it is they're trying to accomplish. Right. And hearing some of that, there's a lot of that story I didn't know that I just heard. And I think when you see the strategic approach to it with the ability to process it and stay focused for the go-to-market mentality, I mean, like definitely ones to watch. I mean, big ambitious goal, right? Be the authority in AI in the automotive industry.
Wow. That's strong. Yeah.
That is
and
strong.
I think that they've got a path to be there. I like the acquisition pattern. It's not similar to a lot of other companies in their acquisitions across automotive right now. So,
and Outsell's got tons of good people.
Oh, great.
Like Wethington, John Clevedatcher, like we have lots of friends there. So it'll be interesting to see how we now have a blended family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, on behalf of Paul J. Daly, the guy that's not here, Michael Cirillo, and myself, Kyle Mountsier, thanks for joining us today on Auto Collabs.
Welcome to Auto Collabs.
Why are we recording?
Are we rolling yet?